Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to the Ageless Sisters, your global source for beauty and anti-aging, with your host, Cynthia Rowland, creator of Facial Magic and Luscious Lips.
Well, good morning, everyone. It's Cynthia Rowland here, and I am so delighted to be on the air today because I have the cutest guest. She is a doll baby. I can tell just from speaking to her ever so briefly that Dr. Eve Agee is like a breath of fresh air, totally wonderful. This woman is a celebrated life coach, a best-selling author, a medical anthropologist, and if I continued to go on and on, I would just take up all of our time with our show because she has been from Arkansas to the White House, and I think that's pretty darn neat that we have this wonderful woman as a guest on our show today. So welcome, Dr. Eve.
Cynthia, thank you so much for having me here.
That is my pleasure. When I read about you, Eve, I just thought, oh, my gosh, this girl is so wonderful. And then this morning I find out that you're from Arkansas. So I grew up in Oklahoma, and Arkansas is just down the road a bit.
Exactly. That's so wonderful.
It is so wonderful. Well, I have to ask because it's tornado season in Arkansas. Did you guys have storms last night?
Totally. It stormed all night long, and there's flooding. But I don't think anything serious. But definitely, lots of roads are closed, and it's everything is very lush and green now.
Oh, isn't that amazing how that greenness just develops so quickly once the moisture starts to come into the state again?
Mhm.
I know. I have a friend who's in Oklahoma, and he told me he was sitting on the porch watching the grass turn green.
Wonderful. That sounds so
I
relaxing.
know. Let's talk about you. Really, I look at all of these accolades that are surrounding your name, and you have just done so many wonderful things, and you continue to do them. And right now, you're talking about uterine health, and I think that's a very timely topic for so many women because we're all at a certain age, and we sometimes have challenges with our uterus.
Yeah, it's very common, actually, and that's one of the things I talk about in my book. In the U.S., we have the highest rate of hysterectomy in the world, and there's all sorts of different kinds of uterine health issues that people have, from fibroid, also endometriosis, and all kinds of different things. And there's, like I give in my book, there's actually great preventative natural ways to take care of our uterus and take care of our bodies and feel your best.
Well, it seems to me that it would be optimum to keep your uterus, rather than have it removed. I mean, even if you're past childbearing age, I'm sure it still holds some type of function.
It really does. And this is one of the major myths that I address in the Uterine Health Companion, because even though there's all this research that shows that the uterus actually produces hormones that help the heart, that decrease high blood pressure, that boost our mood, and actually even boost our immune system. So it gives us all these great benefits. I meet women all the time who are still constantly told by their doctor, and obviously not all doctors do this because a lot of doctors are up on the latest research, but a lot of women still hear on a regular basis, oh, you don't need your uterus if you don't want to have children or you're not going to have any more kids, let's just remove it. But really, it is very important. And also, even where it is in the body, structurally, is very important for our posture. And so the more we can do to actually, just like you do things to take care of your heart and take care of your brain, the more you can do to actually take care of your uterus, which will help your overall health, it'll help you feel better and age with more grace.
Wow. Well, statistically, how many women have their uterus removed every year? Do you know?
Oh, sure. In the U.S., 1/3 do by age 60, and that's the highest in the world. So 1/3 of all women here will have their uterus removed. And then a lot of women have hysterectomies pretty early on, even, some women in their 30s, a lot in their 40s and 50s. And one of the things we know that just having your uterus removed, even if you don't have your ovaries removed, if that happens before menopause, you have a 20% more increase in lifelong heart disease And it can also,
Wow.
even just having the uterus removed, can put you into early menopause, which for a lot of women then becomes more severe.
Goodness sakes. Well, you know, I look at all these women that I'm just thinking now of all these women I know who have had this procedure done for a variety of reasons. And I just wonder about their long-term health. If you're talking about it, how it affects the heart, what else does it affect?
Well, you know, it does affect a lot of different things, and I do want to speak about that because so many of us have had a hysterectomy. You know, women all around have had a hysterectomy. So if you have already had a hysterectomy, one of the things you can do, and I actually have a chapter on that in the Uterine Health Companion that talks about the different ways you can take care of your health and help yourself. One of the things you can do is really focus on your core and strengthening your core, because when they do a hysterectomy, the uterus is unlike all the rest of the organs because it is, you know, primarily the tool for evolution for us as humans. It's held in there with really strong ligaments. And when those ligaments get cut for a hysterectomy, it can cause things to drift and shift within the body. And a lot of women have a lot of joint pain for much of the rest of their lives that they may or may not realize is related to having a hysterectomy. So the more you can do to strengthen your core, also just a whole foods diet and other ways you can help yourself, because it can also affect women's sexual pleasure. The uterus actually, some women actually have uterine orgasms, which aren't talked about very often, but, you know, women do actually have pleasure through the uterus, and a lot of women report after hysterectomies really not having the libido or not having any pleasure sexually, and just often women report depression. There's actually a whole lot of different symptoms that many women experience after hysterectomy.
Wow. So in your book that you have, and I want to make sure that everybody knows how to get this, in just 1 second we're going to give your web address and everything, but in your book, do you talk about, like, diet to improve your uterine health?
Oh, sure. I have a whole preventative and comprehensive plan where I talk about nutrition and exercise and movement, and also mindset, how our attitudes affect our uterine health, and the things we can do to lower stress, because stress has a big negative impact if we're in a chronic stress situation, which many of us are. That can have a pretty negative impact on many of our uterine health processes, from menstruation through being able to conceive during pregnancy. High stress can actually increase also miscarriage rates, can make postpartum much more difficult, and it also has a lot of negative impacts on the menopausal transition. So I talk about those three main pillars of stress reduction, nutrition, and exercise, and how women can do those to have vibrant health.
That is so wonderful. You also have extensive training, I'm learning, in whole foods nutrition and energy restoration and intuitive medicine, things that absolutely interest me, because that speaks to me that you really don't want to use a lot of pharmaceuticals in your practice.
Yeah, you know, I'm really blessed. I started doing research in my 20s on uterine health, and I really started my research on menopause because I had moved when I was 19 from Arkansas to West Africa, and the thing that I found was that women there really looked forward to menopause, and they thought it was fantastic, and they enjoyed their periods and their menstrual cycles, and I thought, this is interesting. It's very different from how we think of these things.
Very different, yes.
So I ended up doing a PhD in medical anthropology at the University of Virginia, and I studied women's attitudes, and I studied a lot of doctor-patient consultations. I viewed hundreds of those, and what I found was that, you know, we have really this uterine health crisis going on, and a lot of women are not really getting the sort of whole balance that they need from a lot of the different kinds of biomedical treatments. A lot of times those treatments don't really address the imbalances that are happening. Instead, often what's happening are, hysterectomy, a surgical, and there's also a lot, there's less invasive procedures, medical procedures that could often be done, or less invasive medical pharmaceuticals that can be used, but often people end up sort of being often encouraged to do more extreme things. But what I got from all that was the things that were there were not working, because we have the highest rate of many of these benign conditions. They're benign, they're not going to kill you, but they still have a huge negative impact on quality of life. So I became very interested in the research of what we can do to prevent and really heal at a very deep level. And so I became very interested and got trained in holistic nutrition and life coaching, holistic health, and I've used that for a lot. And I write about that in the book, ways women can do that. And what people often notice, and I've also had men even write in that their wife read the book and they started applying some of these things, and people really end up having often, just huge success and have more energy and just feel a whole lot better.
And more empowered about life because they are probably on a new pathway, don't you think?
Exactly. Yes, definitely.
Exactly. Well, I mean, you, Dr. Eve, you've just been everywhere from West Africa. Tell us about being in the White House with President Clinton. How did that come about?
That was really wonderful. It was something I had always been very interested in politics, and earlier on had been involved in politics and in campaigns and whatnot. And then when I finished my PhD, I actually almost quit graduate school when they got in office and went and worked then. And a couple of people from the administration said, you know what, why don't you wait and finish your PhD and hopefully we'll still be here. And sure enough, they were. So I got to do a lot of work with women's health and education and really just various different programs that protect children and women. And it was just a really amazing experience.
Well, how long were you around the White House, and how long did you have this appointment?
I was there just for the last 2 years, so I was in the second half of the second administration. But the woman I got to work with had been the cabinet member of domestic policy in the first administration, so we got to do a lot of really, really interesting and very impactful things. It was really wonderful.
What stands out in your mind about that experience, Dr. Eve?
Two things. One, I feel very blessed because the people I worked with in that administration, I believe, was really wanted to help people and getting to work with education and health policies that what I was interested in that really help our most disadvantaged members of our society. And so that was such an honor. And really, to see, I know often people, right now there's such a sort of government backlash and people feel like all of government is in the hand of the lobbyist. And I certainly, completely agree that many of our policies and many of the things that are happening in our country right now are happening because the lobbyists, hold a tremendous amount of power, and often the special interest groups don't represent us. But what's also good to know is a lot of the people on the ground there that are working really are trying to do their best and really want to help people. And I think sometimes that gets lost. So there are people there that have really good intentions and truly are working, just tirelessly
for the good of the country.
Exactly,
yeah.
And I think that gets lost sometimes. And it's important to realize there are really people who actually do care and are trying to make things better.
Well, yeah, I bet there are a lot of people that want that for the country to make everything better for all of us. Now, sometimes I get into this situation where I know that you have health tips for us or some kind of tips. And Dr. Eve, I want to let you have plenty of time to discuss the tips that you're bringing to us today. So could you begin on some of those? I know we'll probably go in and out and add many things to your tips, but I just want to know what they are because I'm so interested in what you do for women.
Oh, sure. Thank you. I think one of the most important things for women in this day and age is to really start to understand and to allow yourself to take good care of yourself, because I feel like most of us as women, it's like everyone is running around, as women, we're often trying to take care of everyone else, and we're so busy these days in our lives. And often I hear so many women say, well, I don't want to be selfish and take care of myself. But people say that all the time, and so one of the most important tips is to realize taking care of yourself is not being selfish. It's actually essential. And so to really give yourself that, put that as one of your first priorities, taking care of yourself, and let yourself relax and let yourself treat yourself right.
Well, that is such great advice because I agree with you. I hear that a lot, too, that people, especially women, they can't even say no sometimes because they're so afraid of how that's going to impact the person that they are dealing with. But really, learning to say no is saying yes to yourself.
Exactly. It's one of the most important things we can learn to say, isn't it?
Exactly. Well, I like that point, so I'm going to post that one immediately. What's your number 2 point?
I think number 2 would probably be to make your body your friend. I feel like a lot of women, in many ways, feel like their body's kind of working against them. And that, sometimes like if you're having any kinds of health issues, that can obviously be the way it feels. Or often women, so many women I talk to are just really exhausted. They feel really tired and they want to have more energy. They want to be able to do more, but they just don't feel up for it. And so the more we can do to start truly appreciating our bodies and realizing, because our bodies are really miraculous if you stop to think about it.
Absolutely.
So the more we can do to just really think about, how do I talk about my body? Would I talk about a friend that way? And to just even change that self-talk about your body so it's more positive and you can really shift the energy. And a lot of people, I notice, just doing this one simple thing will help a lot of women really feel better and to start to have more energy.
And that because I don't know, you've just got to love yourself from the inside out in every way possible. Because that's all you have is you.
Exactly.
That's right. You know what? I didn't give I am so sorry. I want to give your web address just so that women can go there now and sign up for your newsletter. If nothing else, my goodness, you just ply us with free gifts one after the other. So if the listeners will go to EVEAGEE.com, they can find everything out about you and sign up for your newsletter and get to know more about all these wonderful things that you tell us.
Oh, thank you so much.
You're welcome. So number 3.
Number 3 is to see what you can do once a week or once a month, whatever feels good to you, to add in more whole foods and reduce one processed food or one type of processed food you're eating. And so if you just do this once a month, because, I meet so many people who really want to change their nutrition, and often if people try to change everything overnight, it feels really overwhelming.
It is overwhelming.
It does get overwhelming. It really is.
Yeah.
So, if you have 4 soft drinks a day or whatever it is, like if you're drinking more coffee you want, or you eat sweets 6 times a day or 5 times a day, whatever it is, then for 1 month, and be gentle and kind with yourself, if you can reduce that down to, say, if it's 4 soft drinks a day, for a month, reduce it to 3 soft drinks a day, and then add in something positive. Add in, a little, like, some extra vegetables once a day or extra fruit or something, but just trying to do that. And every month, so for the 12 months of the year, if you do that, if you start to make small changes with your nutrition, and you chart them out over a course of a year, by the end of the year, you will have created some really healthy eating habits that are going to support you for the rest of your life.
Yes, I like that. Now, completely off the subject, but in Arkansas, do you have a variety of organic foods from which to choose?
We sure do. I'm very blessed. One of the reasons I grew up here, and then I lived away for 20 years, and I live 5 minutes away from an organic co-op that was voted the best in the U.S. 2 or 3 years ago. So very blessed. There's also a lot of local organic farms around here. So we have some great farmer market, and we just have a lot of different farmers and people. We're very blessed. It's a pretty rich agricultural area, so there is quite a bit of choice. I mean, I do know for a lot of people, it is, organics can be very expensive. So even if someone can't afford organics, if you can just even getting whole foods in and just make sure you clean them well, that's better than not eating vegetables because you can't afford
and then
them.
avoiding the genetically modified ones.
Exactly.
I think.
I totally agree.
Yeah. So, okay, so back to your list of these wonderful things. I just want to reiterate to everyone that you have talked about taking good care of yourself, making your body your friend, which I really love, add more whole foods, and deleting one processed item. That kind of reminds me of the fashionista Marshall's ad where she brings something home and she gets rid of something. I like that idea. That's great. Okay, Dr. Eve, number 4. What do you have for us on number 4?
Number 4 is reduce your toxic load. And, one of the things I write about in my book, and one of the things that research shows, is a lot of the toxins that we are surrounded by in our daily lives in modern society are taking a big toll on our health and energy levels.
So tell us what a toxic load looks like.
Well, just sort of conventional cleaning products, conventional makeup, conventional skincare, and, all those kinds of products, a lot of them contain chemicals. And some of those chemicals, and I go into this in more detail in my book, are called endocrine disruptors. And those chemicals also, lawn care products, pesticides in your food. I mean, we're exposed to toxins everywhere in our clothing and our furniture. And I don't want to make anyone get freaked out or scared, but there are a lot of toxins in our environment. So one of the things you can do is try to open your windows for 20 to 30 minutes a day, if possible, to just sort of air out your house. That's helpful. But also these endocrine disruptors that are in a lot of makeup and skincare and, and certainly in pesticides and things like that, they actually can disrupt your hormonal balance. And that's one of the things affecting so many people, not just women, because it's not just our reproductive health that hormonal balance helps protect, but it's also our mood and, just our metabolism and everything. So the more you can do, again, and approach this slowly, and, to just look at maybe an area like your bathroom or your kitchen or your cleaning products or your yard care or something, and every month or every 2 months, whatever is the right thing for you, think, okay, where could I make some changes here that would actually reduce my toxic load? It might be starting to clean with white vinegar or water that's infused with essential oils rather than more commercial products. It can be whatever feels right to you. But just
But the important thing is just to start somewhere.
Exactly.
To reduce that toxic load.
Yes.
Yeah. I think like opening your doors, that's a great one. Get your house aired out, because so many times you walk into somebody's home, at least I am that way. I can, I don't smell Clorox or anything, but I just feel like it would be so much nicer if it were fresher inside the house.
Yes, and even if you live in an urban area, almost all urban areas, literally the outside air is usually cleaner than what builds up in our houses. We really do need to open the windows and let it air out every day.
I know, because like carpet can be toxic. The cleaning supplies, as you said, can be toxic. I'm always aware of what goes into cosmetic products, because that's my business, is finding out, the best ingredients for everyone. So that's great advice. Just opening your doors, if nothing else. I like that. Is there anything else you want to share with us?
Tip number 5 is just just to get moving, to find, movement or exercise. It might be a dance class. It might be going out dancing with friends. It could be walking. Just find some ways to get moving more that you enjoy. And if you can make them into your social activities, that's great, because that'll mean you'll actually do them more, because the more we move, the better we feel.
I know. I like that. And I like to feel good, so I like to dance. Do you dance?
I love to dance. In fact, I'm one of the co-founders of, and this probably wasn't on my bio, but I'm one of the co-founders of the Hot Flash Mob.
The Hot Flash Mob?
Yes.
And what happens with a Hot Flash Mob?
Well, the Hot Flash Mob is a global movement to empower and appreciate the menopause process. And so we've had women all over the world. We've been featured in TV and magazines and radio on the BBC and NPR and all sorts of stuff. And so women get together and actually hold a hot flash mob. We have a video on our website that you can learn. It's a really simple dance that we call the Menopause Mambo, and it's super fun. And it's just a fun way to get moving and to really come together as women and support ourselves at midlife and beyond.
That is so wonderful. I have to ask, because you have such a wonderful personality and you're just so darn smart, and I love that about you. When's your birthday?
September 1st.
Aha! I have a couple of friends who have birthdays that very same day.
Oh,
how about
nice.
that? How nice. And when you were growing up in Arkansas, did you want to leave right away, or did you want to go to college right away? How did that come that you left Arkansas? Because I know, growing up in a small community similar to yours, not everybody leaves.
You're definitely right. You know, my thing was, I loved growing up here. I grew up in the university town, which is where I live now. So it's one of those kind of typical university towns where you have lots of people from all over because of the university. So you have people from other parts of the country and international people. So I was exposed to that, and I just was, and also through my family, I loved growing up here, but I always thought, you know, if this has been this much fun and everyone in the world completely makes fun of Arkansas, how much fun must the rest of the world be? So I immediately I wanted to leave. I did go to my first 2 years of university here, and then I went to France and then to Africa, and then, so then I was gone for 20 years. But I ended up back after 20 years because once I had my son, my husband and I decided it would be a really nice place to raise him.
Oh, so you do have a child.
Mhm.
Oh, that's wonderful. How old is he?
He's 8.
Oh, what a precious age.
It's a lot of fun.
I know. They keep you young, don't they? And they have so many great ideas and experiences, and I love children. They are the best.
They're amazing.
They are
I have
amazing.
To say, you know, they're so creative, and being around kids all the time really has helped me reflect on how little most of us move as adults because just our lifestyles. And kids are just moving with their bodies, and they're trying new physical things all the time. And I know that's kind of our birthright. And so the more we can do to get back to that, it'll just make us all feel better.
Yes, it will. Well, let me just say again that we are talking with Dr. Eve Agee, and she is the author, the best-selling author, the medical anthropologist, the medical intuitive. I mean, her credentials go on and on, but the new best-selling book is The Uterine Health Companion, A Holistic Guide to Lifelong Wellness. I am just so thrilled, Eve, that you took the time to come be a guest of the Ageless Sisters. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much for being here. It's been wonderful. I've
had a great time. I hope one of these days our paths will cross. One of the things I like to do with my special guests like yourself is to be able to do a video shoot. So if you're ever in Los Angeles, just give us a call and we'll make sure that we do a shoot together. And that's always good to see us in action together, I think.
That would be so much fun. Thank you for having me. And
You're very welcome. Okay, well, thanks a lot, and we will be posting this everywhere and talking about your interview for days because you're just one-of-a-kind person, Dr. Eve Agee.
Thank you so much.
So, okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Well, you know, the Ageless Sisters has the best guests on, and I'm telling you that I love experts like Dr. Eve because she cares about your wellness. So if you haven't gone to her website yet, just go to www.eveagee.com and at least sign up for the newsletter because she's going to give you all of these great free gifts when you do that. So please do that so that you can really expose yourself to more information about how to have a better lifestyle. I want to talk a little bit about our next guest coming up, and that is Alana Pratt. I was on her show, and now she is going to be on our show. She is an intimacy expert, and what a kick-in-the-pants girl is she, because she will just enlighten us about how to have the best life. And it's all scheduled around our pleasure. And she kind of has this little saying that says, when mama's happy, everybody's happy. And that's true because we know really deep down women make the rules. And when those rules are infringed on, we're not that happy. So let's get out there and be happy. Join us next time when she's not a doctor, when it's Alana Pratt, I'll find out her exact credentials, joins us on the Ageless Sisters. So until next time, Cynthia Rowland saying goodbye. Don't forget, Facial Magic, Luscious Lips brings you this program. Bye-bye.
You've been listening to the Ageless Sisters. Tune in again next time for the most up-to-date beauty and anti-aging secrets, tips, and shortcuts. Next time for the most up-to-date beauty and anti-aging secrets, tips, and shortcuts. Next time for the most up-to-date beauty and